Kent, the man that Lear banished in scene 1, comes to the Duke of Albany's palace. He's disguised himself so that he can serve his master. Acting like a lower-class peasant, he's put on a new accent and has renamed himself as Caius. Even after being exiled and threatened with death, Kent still wants to help Lear. So the disguised Kent approaches Lear and asks for a job. He promises to serve him truly, that will put me in trust. Lear seems to trust him, so he gives Kent the job. But soon after, Goneril's steward, Oswald, enters the scene. When Lear asks where his fool is, Oswald ignores him and leaves almost as quickly as he came in. To Lear, it's a terrible insult, so he turns to the side and asks his knight,
"Why not the slave came back to me when I called him?"
So in response to Lear's question, the knight explains that he seems to be a part of a bigger trend. Lately, all the attendants in the palace seem to be unkind to Lear and his people. And Lear agrees.
"I have perceived the most faint neglect of late."
So Lear wants Oswald to come back and talk to him. I mean, how could this guy just ignore the king like that? So eventually, Oswald does return, and Lear says,
"Who am I?"
"My lady's father." My lady's father? That's a big insult to Lear. He's not just Goneril's father, he's the king. So Lear goes on a dissing rampage.
"My lady's father? My lord's knave, you whoreson dog, you slave, you cur!"
During this assault that Lear launches at Oswald, Kent jumps in and shows his support for the king by tripping Oswald. So eventually, Oswald leaves, and for giving help, Lear gives Kent some money. Soon after, Lear's fool arrives. His fool is like his own personal clown and comedian. He's a man whose sole purpose is to entertain Lear. But the fool says some daring jokes, all of which are directly or indirectly true. Probably the most dangerous joke of them all is when the fool makes fun of Lear for giving away his entire kingdom to his daughters. Lear takes it all in, which shows us that Lear and the fool clearly have a particularly close relationship. But then Goneril enters and complains to Lear about how his knights are causing too much trouble in her castle. Lear can't believe the hostility that he's feeling from his daughter. He starts saying things like, "Are you our daughter? Does any here know me? Who is it that can tell me who I am?" What we see here is Lear beginning to reluctantly discover his new identity. He might be referred to as king by everyone, but really, he's feeling the loss of all of the authority and power that he once had before he gave away his kingdom.
Infected with their manner, show more like a riotous inn. Epicurism and lust make it more like a tavern or a brothel than a graced palace.
So Goneril and Lear continue to argue until Albany comes in. We find out that Albany has no idea about what's been happening. He clearly doesn't agree with what Goneril is saying or doing to Lear. So Albany gets more and more confused when Lear curses Goneril and wishes upon the goddess of nature to make her barren, meaning unable to have a child. Lear also adds that if she should have a child, it should be one as awful as her. So Lear exits but returns fairly quickly when he finds out that Goneril has kicked out 50 of his knights from her castle. Lear is in clear disbelief, since one of his 3 conditions was that he gets to keep 100 knights at all times. He's now extremely furious and decides to storm off to Regan's palace. Albany suggests that Goneril might have reacted a little too harshly, but Goneril thinks otherwise. She says, safer than to trust too far, and says that her husband's milky gentleness will do nothing for them. As we will soon see, Goneril won't be the only one who behaves this way.